Well, indeed, quite a damning survey there done by Ernest and Young. And we do hope that corporate Kenya will take the necessary actions to reduce the level of fraud and corruption in the sector. Time now for us to discuss debt matters and debt sustainability in Kenya. Remember, this week, or actually last week, we saw the National Treasury sending a request to Parliament to raise the debt cap from 1.5 trillion shillings to 2.5 trillion shillings. Of course, opinion is still divided on whether that decision or that request is timely. And tonight we're discussing that issue, and I'm now joined by Starlings Muchiri, a tax consultant with East Africa Tax Consulting. Thank you very much for joining us, Starlings.
Thank you, Brian.
And of course, Abdul Kadir Aidan, who is a member of Budget and Appropriation Committee of the National Assembly.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you.
Nice to meet you.
I want to start with you, Starlings Muchiri. Do you think this decision or this request by National Treasury is timely?
Yes, I think this is expected. Right now, our debt level is about 1.1 trillion Kenya shillings. The cap is 1.2 trillion Kenya shillings. That was raised last year from around 800 billion. I believe the government has been promised some money by some of our multilateral and bilateral lenders. And for that to happen, then the ceiling has to be raised. So this is something that we do expect.
I'll be revisiting that issue again, but I want to know from you, Aidan, in the first place, how did we arrive at this amount of 1.2? What calculations did we come up with to say that we need to cap our borrowing, our external borrowing, at 1.2 trillion shillings?
First of all, let me say it is the role of the National Assembly, as stipulated in law, the PFM Act, the Public Finance Management Act, Section 50, requires Treasury or the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Treasury to at all times ensure that he gets approval from Parliament to get to the debts, for the debt ceiling must be approved by the National Assembly. How did we get to this level? What happens is, just like you as an individual, as your needs continue to grow and as your worth continue to grow, you realize that you want to you have an opportunity to borrow more so that you can be able to invest more. So, but for the government, raising from 800 billion last year, I think January 2013, to 1.2 billion, it's just a cap. It's not been exhausted fully, but it's just about there. As Muchiri rightfully said, it's 1.1, just under 1.1 trillion right now. So the government is at 1.2 now in terms of a cap, but they require to do certain more investments in infrastructure. You talk of the, SGR, the railways, the power generation, that 5,000 megawatt of power to be produced. There's all these things. So that is why the government now requires more debt. This is the excuse that, or the reasons given to us by Treasury as to why they want to increase the debt ceiling. Yes.
When Parliament decided to put a cap on borrowing, that was before we enacted the new constitution, and that was when the budget making process was quite opaque. And the reason why they came up with this cap was to check on the spending of the national government or the National Treasury. But here we are living in the post-new constitution, where Parliament has been given a lot of say in the budget making process. The question is, do we still need this capping mechanism?
Yes, and unless we amend the current existing laws, we need, there's got to be this capping. And you know what, it will be very dangerous to just give the government a blank check to go and borrow on behalf of Kenyans. I mean, I know the Treasury will be prudent, but doing that will be quite tricky because somebody could go out there and literally auction us all and, take such a huge debts that becomes a burden to the future generations in Kenya.
But you see, when you go through the PFM Act, any borrowing that is done by Treasury. It must be approved by Parliament.
Yes.
So, and then on the other side, you have a cap. So aren't you practicing some sort of double checks here?
I think it is important to have that check and the ceiling in place. The issues now to go to the 2.5 actually is something that is going to come to the floor of the House. The committee has just done its work, so it's now on the floor of the House. And I can tell you that the feedback we're getting from many Kenyans is that they will really want us to scrutinize that and be convinced beyond reasonable doubt that indeed there is need to increase that cap. It's a safety valve for Kenyans. Otherwise, very soon, even now where we are in terms of debt levels, I'm sure we'll get into that as we carry on, sustainability of that debt is an issue that worries us very much. And I think capping that debt so that it doesn't get out of hand, it doesn't get out of blown out, is a very important thing to do. I think it is important to have...
Starlings Muchiri, I want to hear your views on this, because